Hands steady on the wheel, my sights are set south in hopes that my second attempt for the elusive New Mexican brook trout will be a bit more successful. Winter weather, it has a way of throwing a monkey wrench into plans, and that's kind of what kept me away from my quarry a few weeks ago. But driving over these same familiar roads, it's amazing to me how much changes in such little time. A few good days of warm weather has completely transformed the Lincoln National Forest, and dare I say, spring is on the way. Much like any trip that I go on, a lot of research went into this particular adventure. But as I'm sitting there getting laced up, I can't help but feel I might be chasing after memories of the past. There's no good way to know if they'll even still be here. Phantom brook trout and underwater ghost towns. I can't tell if this is just a good marketing tool for a little town or maybe it's an actual bad omen. But when diving a bit further into this story, I learned a lot about this mountain valley. Bonita City was once a gold rush town with kind of a rough history, but today it's nothing more than a silty lake bottom. The completion of the dam in the 1930s flooded the town, drowning its strange past. Since then, Bonita Lake was a favorite destination for many anglers, and at some point, someone stocked brook trout, and for over 80 years, they've been able to sustain a wild population. And that is, until very recently. In 2012, the Little Bear Fire ravaged the area, and the erosion, it caused the dam to fail. Years of maintenance have gone into fixing the structure, but things continue to be delayed. And on top of that, drought years as well as massive floods have absolutely crippled what little trout were left in the headwater streams. So, hiking into this story, it does not bring me a great deal of hope. But like always, I pray for the best, even though I'm always prepared for the worst. Okie doke, the water is getting super skinny. I'm gonna double back where I actually saw the fish. I always do this, never leave fish to find fish. Okay, we've made it back to where I've actually seen the brookies. We're gonna get rigged up and we're just gonna make our way upstream to where I stopped seeing them. And hopefully we can just get one. I just want one. I've got a plan B just in case, but for now, I'm hoping we can get one here. Even though we only saw a few fish on our hike in, it helped put my mind at ease knowing that there were at least fish here. As long as I could see those little char, I felt like I had a decent chance of catching one of them. But the further upstream I moved, the fish that I had seen earlier, they seemed to just disappear. There were not many good spots left to fish, and my options, they were running out so fast. I was beginning to think some ghoul from the underwater ghost town had put a Brookie hex on my adventure.
Hey, how's it going?
Yo, are you the fly off season, dude?
Hell yeah.
But after an awesome conversation with a new friend, things seemed to turn around in a major way.
No freaking way.
Well, there it is, ladies and gents. That is a true blue New Mexico brookie. Holy cow.
I have no way of knowing how old this fish might be or the hell it's seen throughout its little life. I have to imagine it's never left this pool. The rich colors on this fish are like no other brookie I've ever seen before. But I suppose you need a whole lot of pressure to create a diamond like this.
Now, I'm not exactly sure how much of that you guys caught. It's kind of a weird culmination of events. He came out from under a rock and just smashed my leech. But that was my first brookie here in New Mexico and my first fish on the new ant rod. Ant sent me the updated leaf cutter. This thing is an absolute dimey dime, but I left the plastic on, as you guys know. So now I have the honor and the privilege of taking it off and christening this rod into the arsenal. So that's awesome, man. That's so exciting.
The power of one fish is such a funny thing to me. That beautiful little brookie lifted a massive weight off my shoulders, and now the rest of the day would be pure gravy. I could already tell that the time and effort to run this adventure back had more than paid for itself, and the sense of accomplishment was already setting in. Hiking back to the trailhead, there seemed to be a certain glow in the air. The morning chill was quickly being burned off by the strength of the sun, and it really started to feel like spring. Now, by no means am I saying I lollygagged on the hike back, but I certainly took my time to soak in all the details. I mean, how could I not? The smell of warm pine led me downstream and back to the truck. It was time to activate Plan B. Much like the last stream, I was not very sure if there would even be fish here. The majority of the creek was bone dry up until I got to the trailhead itself. And even though it took a little bit of hiking, I was finally able to spot some brookies tailing in the deeper pools. I spotted one 6 or maybe 7-inch brookie that had a tail sticking out of its mouth. The competition in these little streams is no joke, and there was no question. I was looking at the pool boss. So I kept my hopes high and maintained a solid pace upstream. I figured it would only be a matter of time before I could find one on the end of my line.
Oh my gosh.
Very nice.
For fishing 2 random streams in a completely new region of the state, I felt quite accomplished for the day. 3 brookies in the bag wasn't bad, especially given the circumstances. And with wind and skinny water ahead, I had no issue turning around and heading back to the truck. This was an incredible day. But days like this are surely numbered. And I'm sure there's some of you out there who are in the loop and know what's going on with brook trout in the West. But for those of you who may not be aware of the concept of the Trojan brook trout or the YY brookie, I'm going to explain a little bit more and kind of delve into it. Cursory level, no expert level. But to cover my bases, obviously, brook trout, they are not native to the West. They're an eastern species. And this eastern char, they fill the same niche as a lot of our high elevation trout species. So you put a brook trout into a creek with Rio Grande cutthroat, they're gonna fill that same niche and work to outcompete the natives, which sucks. And in the past, it's been extremely difficult once they're put into a system to get them out of a system. And that's not just with brook trout. You look at browns, rainbows, any non-native fish species put into a creek, it's very tough to spin those wheels back. And like I said, in the past, it's been in the form of poisoning or electroshocking, and these methods aren't exactly the most efficient. It takes a lot of time, and they have diminishing returns. Oftentimes, you miss a few here, you miss a few there, and the whole project was a waste of time. But in the last few years, there's been kind of a breakthrough in this whole battle, this whole problem of non-native trout, and that comes in the form of the Trojan brook trout. So scientists have found a way to genetically modify these brook trout to only pass on the male gene. And I'm no genetic expert here. I have a very cursory understanding of this, but essentially they've genetically modified them to, put them in a stream and over X amount of generations burn the entire population out. Because if you think of a spawning run or a spawning season that only rears males, well, the next season it's only going to rear males until it eventually burns itself out. And this is kind of a catch-22 in a lot of ways. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I can't quite tell where I sit on the fence here because the brook trout here in New Mexico, they've been here for like 100 years, and they didn't ask to be put here, but through fires and floods, they've clawed out an existence. And yeah, they're very cool. They're kind of a unique gem to add to your collection of trout here in the state. And from an angling aspect, that might be selfish. It's like, don't get rid of my brookies. But a lot of anglers have come to love them and know them, and it's strange. But then when you flip that coin and you look at the Rio Grande cutthroat, well, they've been here for thousands of years, and they didn't ask for brook trout to be put into their streams and then eventually push them out. So I don't really know where I sit on this issue. Part of me is like, okay, this is totally playing God, but then the other part is, this is a great tool to be a steward of the land and return it to the natives. So it's tough. I will say I've left some articles that I read down below. USGS has done some great stuff. I think Idaho Fish and Game's done some great stuff. There's a lot of cool information about this out there, but just know the brook trout here in New Mexico, they might not be here long. So while you can, go chase them, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.
Well, if you're seeing this, that means our small stream brookie adventure is over. And all I gotta say is thank you so much, folks. And it's always strange as I'm standing in the middle of nowhere, listening to the wind, and that's about it, talking to a black box. But I'm pretending it's you, as weird as that may sound. And again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. The amount of support this channel receives is crazy. The way you guys like the videos and comment on them, I love talking to you, so that's awesome anyways. But the more the subscribers grow, the more I can do stuff like this. And I kind of hate saying that because it's very played out, and it seems like that's the cookie cutter standard on this platform, but it's the truth. So thank you. And folks, wherever you find yourself, be it on a very small stream in the middle of New Mexico or in your backyard, I sure hope you're keeping those feet in the water. And until next time, tight lines.